My judges, my jurors, this is internet personality Vangelus, and when faced with the situation of owning two Dredds and two Lawmasters of the same scale, in similar soft goods costume style, the only logical conclusion is to compare, so let's comparison! Double Dredd style! Of course, for more focused coverage of either figure, check out their individual reviews also on this channel. Mezco Dredd is modern, ThreeA Dredd is retro, Mezco Dredd is beefy, ThreeA Dredd is slim, Mezco Dredd uses metallic yellow and a black pleather-like suit, ThreeA Dredd uses burnished gold and a slightly bluer PVC-esque suit, Mezco's green is warmer, ThreeA's green is more weathered. Basically, we seem to be set up for one of those classic apples and oranges comparisons as far as aesthetics are concerned. Articulation, however, is a little less open to interpretation. Mezco Dredd has extremely solid joints, which are very good at matching the pull strength of his suit to avoid costume-based hindrance. ThreeA Dredd's joints are a little weaker, with the waist and torso articulation having a lot of trouble fighting the resistance of the suit and often springing back. However, ThreeA Dredd has very fully realized limb articulation, while Mezco Dredd's hips face a few limitations. Also, Mezco Dredd's ankles are legitimate garbage for their price point and parts count. Mezco Dredd's elastic-banded elbow pads and knee pads, along with his magnet-fastened shoulder armor, feel a little less jiggly than ThreeA's version of those costume parts, and generally aren't on my mind when I'm playing with the figure. Digging down into accessories, Mezco has the winning combination of a pile of varied parts that almost entirely store on his costume, and the handcuffs store in the bike. I love that stuff. ThreeA's includes an extra gun that stores in the boot, but sorely lacks any other storage on his belt or otherwise. However, while Mezco's includes a fun pointy hand, ThreeA's hand options feel so much more complete. ThreeA's spare hands come in pairs and cover all the basic bases, while Mezco's are asymmetrical and pretty bad at holding critical accessories like the day stick. Mezco's does add that one extra touch of shine, though, in the inclusion of a display stand. Doubly shiny since that display stand has one of those armature things that let you have him jump through the air and whatnot. I know I brought up aesthetic apples and oranges before, but man, look at these two Lawmasters! ThreeA's is a small, manageable retro motorcycle with guns on the front. Mezco's is a modernized two-wheeled tank. These vehicles lean even harder into the different stylings of their respective Judge Dredds. Getting more toyetic, Mezco's bike is simply butt-loaded with electronic features. ThreeA's has 2 sets of front-mounted lights, but Mezco's has 3 sets of front and back-mounted lights, plus a ton of sound effects. It also has way more oomph and weight for its price, hitting all that bang for your buck with a load of gusto, doubly so when placed next to ThreeA's. That said, ThreeA's pulls off its paint weathering with experience and aplomb that Mezco's simply lacks. It's just a shame that the two bikes have near comparable retail prices because ThreeA's Lawmaster struggles to stand as tall as Mezco's beyond its paintwork and retro styling. When it comes down to it, there's an obvious deciding point between these two sets for those who put aesthetics first and foremost. If you want classic retro Dredd, go ThreeA. If you want modernized Dredd, go Mezco. Both companies went for immensely different styles, and if one just clicks with you harder, you should probably follow your heart. Getting down to the plastic and pins of these guys as toys, Mezco's 112 Collective Dredd has a beefier build and slicker appearance. It also pulls ahead just a touch in how it uses its accessories, but then immediately falls behind in its hand swap options. ThreeA's Dredd looks rougher and has a much more wiry build, but in my experience it also is far more fun to actually play with. Both figures have comparable articulation, but ThreeA's doesn't fight against me as much, and has a categorically superior standing base thanks to the actually functioning ankle joints. If you bring the Lawmasters into the equation, Mezco regains a lot of footing. Their bike doesn't have as sharp a paint job, but it also simply does more, and tries to fill in some of the 112 Collective Dredd's gaps as a standalone figure. His bad ankles become less of an issue when he's seated on a vehicle, his handcuffs get a place to go, and he gains one more set of hands, even though they don't necessarily cover all his missing bases in that department. ThreeA's Lawmaster is totally fine, it's just a shame that it runs at such a similar price point because in a direct bang-for-your-buck comparison, I've got to give it to Mezco's motorcycle. For my own personal preferences, I prefer ThreeA's Dredd as a standalone figure, while I'm more excited by Mezco's Lawmaster when looking at figure and vehicle bundles. So if you're trying to make a decision and the classic versus modern aesthetic divide isn't helping at all, consider whether or not the Lawmaster motorbike side of the discussion actually matters to you or not. Anyway, this has been Internet Personality Vangelus, and I want to thank all you Dredd hardcores out there for not crucifying me when you found out I've never even read an entire 2000 AD trade paperback. Oh, you just found that out. Well, hey, look over there, it's Carl Urban! I think he's filming a sequel!